Good evening, everybody, and happy Wednesday. My name is Eileen Heedler. I'm part of the Career Services team, and you are now part of Loyola Connect Live. We have been thrilled to welcome different members of our alumni group to these evenings, and they're really bringing some exciting and some niche content for our Greyhounds. We have a great group of Greyhounds. I want to thank each of you for joining us tonight. We are going to go ahead and spend some time with Mariana Fernandez Aponte and Tamar Barsamian.
Nailed it.
We are that was my challenge for the evening. So I might log off now and just be done. There you go. So we are so thrilled to have them. I'm not positive why we would pick two folks from Politico exactly this time of year. Maybe it was just luck. I'm not sure, since there's nothing going on in the world or the country right now. But I know I'm all ears to get started and hear them. So in terms of format, just a few reminders. Again, great to have you. We'll let Mariana and Tamar run through their information, their bios, their backgrounds. Please feel free to jot down notes as they go. And then at the end, once they go through all of their information, we're really thrilled to open it up to Q&A. Get your wheels turning, and Greyhounds, just a little, encouragement. This is a great time to tap alumni who are in a field that maybe you're potentially interested in, or talk to them about what correlations you can bring based on joining us tonight. So again, thanks for being here. And with no further ado, I'll ask Mariana to kick us off, please.
Thank you so much, Eileen. So as she mentioned, my name is Mariana Fernandez Aponte. I graduated Loyola 2018. It's kind of weird to say that it's almost been 3 years, and I keep looking at my flashbacks and having so much nostalgia already. But just for my development, I graduated Loyola in 2018. As I mentioned, I was a political science major with an international business minor. My last semester of my senior year, I interned at the business PAC. It was called the Business Industry Political Action Committee. And from that internship, I moved on to get an employment before I graduated around April or so. And then I worked there for a year as a member relations coordinator, and enjoyed my experience, learned a lot about how lobbyists and influence works in Congress and in these different power struggles, which was really interesting for me as a political science major. And after that, after a year at BIPAC, I moved on to Politico as the office administrator. I held that position for about a year or so, and then I am currently Politico's talent coordinator. So what that means is that I work with the human resources team. I report directly to the chief talent officer, and what my day-to-day looks like, I work a little bit with recruiting, I work a little bit with diversity and inclusion. I'm currently the chair of the diversity and inclusion program subcommittee. That means I create the spaces for employees to have conversations about diversity, about identity, these conversations that shape the culture and evolve the culture of Politico. So I've been really blessed to have the opportunity to do that. So if you want to talk more about that, I'm more than happy to work that into our conversation. And apart from that, I also work on the employee experience and culture in general. So, benefits, all these things that HR kind of manages, I am aiding as they go. I'm very much like boots on the ground, whatever they need, I'm there to help them with. So I'm very excited for our conversation tonight, and that's all I've got for you.
Mariana, I'm going to jump into, could you just share when you were Greyhound, what were you involved in on campus? And Tamar, if you could add that into your introduction as well, please.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was at Loyola, I was involved in the admissions office. I was a tour guide for a year. That's where I met Charlie. Hi, Charlie. And I did that for a year, and then I was also involved in ALICE for my 4 years at Loyola, and I was also part of the ISP program my first year, the Ignatius Scholars Program. It was a great experience. It gave me the opportunity to learn about Loyola before classes officially started, and it was a great transition before my 4 years at Loyola. And honestly, it's a gift that keeps on giving. Tamar and I will talk about more about that, about how our experiences at Loyola has really shaped the way that our careers have kind of flourished, if you will.
Awesome. Well, I can take it from here. It's a tough introduction to follow. So my name is Tamar, class of 2019. I remember back at Loyola, I had many classes with Mariana. She just would like speak fire in so many classes. But I guess a little bit about my journey prior to Politico. So at Loyola, I was involved for my first several years on the track team, then made a quick switch over, worked for Father Brown in campus in Maine, and then a bunch of other things like led retreats and things like that, as well as initiatives in the poli-sci department. I was a poli-sci major with like an international studies focus and then a peace and justice studies minor. So pretty much in that department, though my senior year I did take business foundation course, which was a really valuable. I'm so glad I took it because now I'm a senior business associate at Politico. And so prior to that, I worked for Senator Markey my sophomore year. I interned for him in his Boston office. And then my junior year going into my senior year, I worked at the Smithsonian, huge title. It's the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. I'm Armenian and they put on a big festival showcasing Armenia and Catalonia. So I worked on the Armenian side. And then coming to Politico was kind of a funny story. I was in a poli-sci class doing research and I kind of just was like, Politico's a cool place. I'm gonna look at their opportunities. And I went on their page and saw, I was like, business development associate. And I looked at the requirements and I was like, you know what, I could do that. That seems pretty cool. And so then I applied, randomly talked to Jim and he was like, I know the chief talent officer, Tracy. And so he put me in touch. And then this interview process brought me to where we are now. And so much different than Mariana, I work on the business side. So Politico is kind of two major things, all encompassing is Politico, our brand. It's our news for general consumers, DC, policy junkies. And then I work on Politico Pro, which is our policy intelligence platform. And so typically like your vice president of government relations at Uber and Facebook, they use this. I sell specifically to people who work on Capitol Hill. So anyone in the House, Senate committees, state and local governments, so departments of transportation, that's who I work with on a day-to-day basis. And right now it is crazy, as you can imagine, but no day is the same. And you get to talk to such a wide range of people. And so that's a little bit about me. I can speak to more of the formal associate experience at Politico. I'm on the associate hiring committee. I also work a bit with product and marketing, as well as a bunch of other associate type things. There's account management associates and then business development associates. So business development being new business, talking to new clients, and then account management being holding on to existing clients. And so we have a large associate team on Politico Pro. So I'd be happy to dive into more of that.
Mara, speaking of the product side, maybe you and Mariana could jump in, just sort of maybe a political, see, we're in the season, Politico overview and sort of maybe the size, the location, you know, everything, kind of the nuts and bolts piece, like an introduction would be great, please.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk to you a little bit about our product. So like I said, I worked kind of closely with product marketing. And so like I mentioned, Politico Pro being our policy intelligence platform, it actually produces over 50% of revenue for Politico alongside our audience solutions team, which is like ad sales. And then the heart of Politico being our newsroom. I think, Mariana, correct me if I'm wrong, we're about 500, 600 total.
Yeah, about 550. Yeah.
Okay.
All
So
across the United States.
Yeah. So now we're all over the place. We are still a pretty small company. It's kind of weird to think about having such an amazing like name brand recognition. We are a really tiny company. Even if you don't know someone, it's kind of like Loyola. You see someone in passing and you're like, I know them. I don't know how I know them. Though it's different now here. And so at the heart of the newsroom is basically the Politico reporters and then the Politico Pro reporters. So the people who are buying Politico Pro have their own reporters, as opposed to Politico, which is they're just like pumping out the more, I don't want to say broad, more, how would you explain just like Politico content?
Right. So the different, I would say that the main difference is the kind of beats that they are assigned. So Politico Pro has someone that is specifically, you know, an expert in tech, for example, or in healthcare. They generally dive in and dive really deeply into the particular topic that they're reporting on, versus general like breaking news reporting and Congress reporting. Stories change accordingly. So in what we call core Politico, which is outside of Pro, core Politico reporters just have like beats that are a little more generalized, that allows them to have flexibility on top.
And if you don't know what a beat is, it's basically like the topic they write about. And we have 17 different beats, anywhere between like agriculture. We just started a sustainability beat. We have a cannabis beat, like you name it, the topic, we probably have it, and a really awesome reporting team for it. And that's ultimately what we're known for, is politics and policy. We don't have a really huge international focus, though that's something we are expanding into, but Politico is known for its superior policy reporting and very granular policy reporting. So budget and appropriations, all legislation coming out of the Hill. And so that's just what we do best.
I would say I can't give you the breakdown of each beat reporter or the amount of reporters per beat, but I can tell you that our newsroom is around 250 people or so, between people, you know, reporting particularly on topics. Then you have our video team and everything that involves like news. I would say that it's around 250 people.
And really timely, healthcare is our largest reporting team. And so during COVID, we actually launched a COVID nightly newsletter, and we were the first newsroom to do that. And so having that paired with being the largest healthcare reporting team in the country was really cool, because no other news organization was doing that. And we're also the most rapidly growing news organization. So also just a really cool time to be a fly on the wall at a really amazing news media organization.
So a question came into the chat. We'll just jump in. I think it's a good launching pad for more information about, you know, the whole organization. How many reporters work within each beat, would you say?
I know that the cannabis team has like 6 reporters total, like including their editor. But so beats tend to be a little, if we're talking about Politico Pro, and I am sure that Tamar can talk a little bit more about this, but like they tend to be more smaller, sorry, because of the kind of expertise and dedication that each reporter has. They once again, they go in a deep dive on the topic.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say teams vary according to topic and the need and the bandwidth that they need accordingly.
Yeah, so folks who are covering like budget and appropriations, that's so critical. We have a bigger team for that. Whereas niche topics like cannabis, like sustainability, those are smaller teams. But again, like healthcare, much larger team. I think we have like 15 reporters on our healthcare team. I would say average probably between 5 to 10.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could comment to our students just kind of broadly, how easy is it to maybe move around or change departments or, you know, experience different things? We often get asked that a lot. You know, do people feel as though within companies they have to sort of stay in their lane, or are companies open? What's kind of the culture to movement?
I can talk a little bit about this. So within Politico, they have different programs. So if you, for example, start off as a business development associate and you're interested in going into the newsroom, the best way and the smoothest way to transition into that is to start getting exposure to that. So we have mentorship programs. We have ways to like interact that we have events that connect both the newsroom and the business side. That allows people to get that exposure, ask the questions that they need in order to get the right steps. So it's not, I don't want to like overpromise and say like, yeah, it's super easy, but there are like built-in systems that allow that. And a couple people have successfully like done so.
I can actually speak to that because that's honestly something I'm doing right now. I'm hoping to make the transition to the product team, and product meaning like having an idea and then creating it, working with the developers, the engineers to do that. And as associates, like Mariana said, I don't want to like crush your dreams. If you're like, I want to be a journalist, it's just not as common. The most common transitions are associates going to then account executives, meaning basically in my role right now, I set up a meeting with a prospective client for my account executive to hopefully close the deal. A lot of people do then switch over to the account management side. So they're maintaining a pool, they're upselling and renewing their Politico Pro contracts. And a lot of people do switch over to that side, as well as audience solutions. They go into ad sales. Regardless of the career you want, the associate position, it's a grind, it's challenging. It teaches you so many skills though, from written and oral communication to working with a number of stakeholders to managing a ton on your plate and staying organized and having really effective time management. I just have been really fortunate to also have a mentor. We have this Politico mentoring network, like Mariana mentioned, and she is an editorial operations manager. Also, you can imagine during COVID, like every company had major budget cuts and people are just really constrained on their budget. So promotions were not as common, though we have been really blessed in that Politico has been a financially successful company during this. And so it didn't halt altogether. So now we're seeing like new hires and things like that again. And so I would say it's common that people do switch over, but it's more so within the sector. If I personally haven't seen anyone go from an associate to a journalist, that's not to say it's impossible though.
And I wanted to kind of plug also, we have a program called Random Acts of Coffee that basically is a randomized system. You sign up for a list. You say, hey, I want to interact with this particular department. I never get the chance to do so. And they just pair you up with someone from that department and you just chat. And once again, another opportunity to ask the right questions to see if this is the right fit for you, if how you would go about it and all these things. Really fun program. And it, they expense the coffee too, which is great. So you don't even have to pay for the coffee.
It would be better, free coffee. How are they navigating that in the virtual world? I'm just curious.
Oh man, it's been a challenge. I work closely with the person running the program, and she's like, I'm constantly like having to remind people to expense their coffee, and it's over Zoom, right? But we still make sure that people get the compensation, but people aren't getting the coffee, so they're not expensing it, but it's just an excuse to like get to know someone that you wouldn't talk to normally. So, and a lot of people are still very receptive to it, which is great.
That's great. That's great. So, okay, I was just going to thank Mariana and Tamar on behalf of our career services team. This portion is going to end the recording.